Hi guys, I'm Woodcraft Hamster, and I thought I'd do a quick update on my new ESEE 4. Now, as I said in my last video, I'm planning on doing a sort of quick mod on this. And as you may have seen my video doing the mods on my ESEE 6, I'm not going to do kind of 3 or 4 videos in a row doing it step by step. I'm just going to do each step, sort of cut in and out, do it quite quickly. But these are actually, in my opinion, really good knives. I've wanted to get the ESEEs for a while now, and luckily I've had the opportunity twice in a row quite recently to get this one, which is the ESEE 4, and also the ESEE 6 that I've done some other videos about. This one in particular was really nice to be able to get, A, because I got it quite cheaply, and B, because I bought it with the first lot of funds that have come through from my YouTube channel, which was as much of a surprise to me as I'm sure it was to everybody else. But as you can see, someone's already done a small mod on this. All they've done is taken the a little bit of the paint off the back. They've squared off the spine a bit just so that it'll throw some sparks, and I've tried that out and it works really well. And all I'm going to do, really, the purpose of this video, I'm going to take a little bit of the paint off the main blade. I'm probably going to stop just sort of part way through the choll down here. I'm going to refinish this with a little bit of gun blue as I did with the other one, and I'm going to give it a quick sharpen, and really that's all I'm planning on doing, guys. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cut the camera and move in a little bit closer. I'm going to whip the scales off quickly. I'm not going to bore you with that, and we'll make a start on getting the paint off. Right then guys, so here is the blade. I've taken the scales off. We'll put those aside for later. I might have a little play around with those as well, and all I've done, I've just masked off the front edge of this blade here. I'm not convinced, or I'm not 100% sure whether masking tape will actually form a good enough barrier against the paint remover, but we will see how it goes. And really all I'm going to do, same as last time, throw a little bit of this paint stripper on. Now again, I think as I said this in my last video, this is a case of do as I say, not as I do. Really, if you're using this kind of stuff, it is pretty nasty. Wear a pair of gloves. I certainly should be. I don't actually have any to hand at the moment, which is why I'm not using them, but again, I wouldn't recommend doing this by hand. Now I've just made a quick little spreader out of some scrap wood, and I just want to get a good overall covering on this blade. And once I've got it all nicely over one side of the blade, which hopefully you can kind of see on the camera there, all I'm going to do is flip it over into a sort of puddle of itself, get it on the other side so it's working on both sides of the blade at the same time, and essentially I can leave that for 20 minutes or half an hour. And what I'll do, I'm going to leave this as it is, guys. I'm going to move this out of the way, and we'll come back and we'll make a quick start on the scales. Right, so whilst the paint stripper is working its magic, I've got 2 small files here. Hopefully you can see that on the close-up. This one is just a round file, and this is a square file. And what I've done on both the scales, I've just put a couple of really faint pencil lines just to give me a bit of a guide. These are all going to be the round file, and once I've done those, I'm just going to sort of by eye move in and just put some slightly different cuts in with the square file. And I'm not looking to go too deep on this. I just want something that will give a bit of texture onto this micarta. Micarta, as I think I said in my last video about when I was modding the ESEE 6, it's a lovely material to work with. It's really easy, very similar to almost like a woody consistency. And all you want to do is just very carefully start cutting in with your file. Within just a few seconds there, I'll try and get this up to the camera without disturbing the dust too much. You can see what I'm doing there. Blow that off, and you can see, if I can get that working on the camera, just got 2 quite nice uniform sort of dips in there. I do want to go a little bit deeper than this. Again, that's probably about right for my purposes. And again, you're not damaging these scales in any way. You're not going to make them weaker. They're going to be bolted onto a solid metal surface of your knife on the tang. And also you've got these liners in here as well, which also give a little bit more stability. But what I'll do, guys, I'll finish these off and I will come back before I start using the square file. So there we go, guys, about 5 minutes worth of work, and already, certainly in my opinion, you've got some much nicer looking scales here. Just having these little indentations, not only is it going to help your grip, I just think it makes them look a lot nicer. Now what I'm going to do is move over to this square file just to give it a slightly different sort of look to the sort of the rounded indents that we've got here. And I'm just going to do this by eye, and what I'm planning on doing is going at an angle here, so I'm going to go sort of one way here, then here, then here, then here. Whether or not I can keep this completely even is a bit dubious at this point, but I'm going to persevere. Can be a little bit difficult starting these cuts off, as the file does want to sort of skitter around a little bit. See if I can get a better angle on this. So very gently cut in to get it started, and once you get that channel, then you're pretty much good to go. So we'll be careful with it, don't rush it. See if that's enough. So there we go, that's probably about as deep as I'm going to want to go with that. And what I'll do a few more of these, and I'll come back when I've done both sets of scales. Okay, so I may have got slightly carried away there. I've actually put a few more sort of indentations than I'd originally planned to in there, but I think they've come up quite nicely. Certainly a nice lot of grip and quite a nice looking pattern on there, or certainly I think so. And the last thing to do with these, just get a couple of bits of sandpaper. I've got a 220 and a 320 grit here, and all I want to do is just very quickly and lightly go over the top of this. What that will do, it'll just sort of slightly round off any sharp corners, just so you've got nothing that's sort of cutting into your hands. So that's that one, and again, you don't have to go very far with this. It's just a really light sand over. That's the wonder of this material, micarta. Very similar to wood in the way you can work it. You can, if it starts getting rough on you, if you've got micarta handles and you've been using them for a long time, they've got a lot of oil from your skin and water when you've been out in the field. You can just give them a very light sanding down. It will completely change the colour of them. Obviously, you can see they're a lot lighter now than they were. And if you want to darken these handles back up, it's not something I do often with these, but I have seen it done by other people. What you can do is just give them a very quick squirt of WD-40. That will soak in there. It will form a little bit of a protective barrier as well. Depends whether you like to keep your scales nice and sort of clean looking like this, or you like to have a bit of a sort of a worn and weathered and used look. But that's my scales. They will be going back on once we finish with the rest of the blade. And I'm just going to leave the blade, which is still getting depainted as we speak, and as soon as that's finished I'll come back and we'll move on from there. Okay, so here is the stripped blade. Unfortunately, if you look just around here, the masking tape didn't do a superb job of keeping the paint stripper back. That should be fine when I finish it off with the the gum glue, it should cover that over nicely, but it could, just a shame that it wasn't a slightly neater job. And all I'm going to do is just take a bit of tissue like this, and I'm going to apply the gum glue. I probably need to do a couple of applications that I won't bore you with on the screen. Again, as I said before, guys, really should be wearing gloves for this. Probably going to end up paying for this later. And you just need to give that a couple of minutes just by itself. Let the gum glue soak in. I'll give it a couple more coats afterwards, while wiping it down between each, and I'll come back when we're finished. Okay guys, so we are done, and for any of you guys that are thinking of doing this, this is probably taking me about an hour, so it doesn't take long at all, and this is the finished result. I've obviously put the scales back on. I've given the blade a quick strop just to take away some of the marks of the gum glue, and all in all, I think this is a really nice looking knife. It looked nice before. I prefer the sort of the au naturel finish on here rather than the sort of the painted finish. I've left it below the scales because it does provide an element of protection, and I'm not going to be taking the scales off very often. But you know, this has turned out really nicely. If I see if I can get this a bit closer, you know, obviously around this area here, especially on the other side, you know, you can just see where the paint has sort of come away a little bit further than I'd intended, but certainly from any sort of distance, you know, sort of up here or further, you really can't tell the difference. Now, as I'd said before, the guy I got this from had done a little bit of a mod on top of the spine here, and what that means is that I can basically throw really good sparks with this, and it's not too large of a blade to you know, be too unwieldy when you're trying to get sort of, you know, real good sparks like that. The other thing I wanted to show you is that this has actually got a really good blade on it. So for example, you know, I can take some really nice big cuts off this without putting in too much effort. And also, if I wanted to, you can use it for a lot more sort of fine detailed work. I won't do too much of this, but you know, if you want to make yourself some fire sticks or what have you, you know, you can get some really nice thin shavings on there. So again, guys, you know, really quick, simple, easy mod to do. I think it makes the knife look a lot better. It gives you the opportunity to personalise it to your own taste, which is certainly what I've done. And I highly recommend to anyone that's that wants to try something like this, just do it. You know, it's really easy to do. You don't need lots of fancy tools and lots of expensive equipment, and you get something that looks just a little bit, maybe, or what I think, a little bit nicer than what comes out of the factory. But I hope it was useful, guys. Thanks again, certainly from me, because obviously this essentially came from you guys. You know, everyone that watches and supports my videos. This was the first sort of payment that I got from YouTube for my channel, which has been running for about 11 months now. So this is, you know, more for you guys than it is for me, really. But anyway, hope it was useful. Hit like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I hope you'll all join me next time. Thanks, guys.